Hello, my name is Lewis, also known as the Aesthetic DM. This is an overview of the D&D Bleach book I've been working on for a few years now. I was inspired by a similar book that someone wrote for the D20 system I found online back in 2014-ish, around there. It wasn't that well balanced, but it was really cool. I made my own revisions to that book for the D20 system, and I used that to play with my playgroup at the time, as we were, like really into anime and D&D. We just got into D&D during that time, and it was great. So this is going to be my 5th edition version of that. I'm going to quickly go over through each section and chapter. If you want a more in-depth commentary on a certain section or chapter, let me know. I'll make a separate video for those. Going into them, giving more of my thoughts and why I made it the way it is. Or if there's enough questions and stuff on this video, I'll do this follow-up video answering any of those questions. As well as if you have anything you want to talk about, feel free to leave a comment or DM me. Message me. I'm at the Aesthetic DM, Twitter, and kind of everywhere else, just about everywhere else. You can find me by that handle, at the Aesthetic DM. So let's go into the book. So this is the current cover and title for the book right now. It's a pretty cool picture of Ichigo here. Very John Wick style kind of look to it. It's pretty cool. Don't know who did it. I just Googled it, and whatever came up is what I used. So that's what I currently have right now. Current title is The Shinigami's Handbook to Soul Society. Very similar to a lot of other books that D&D has put out as of late. So I'm kind of keeping it in the same vein. If I think of a better title, I'll probably switch it up. Same thing with the art. I definitely want to switch it out and get some fan art for it, but that's a placeholder for now that I'm using. So let's go into the book. So for the credits, obviously it's got me as the lead writer, and I also have an editor. Forgot to put in one of my friends, the Gonza or Gonza. You can find them online by the handle as well. Help with some balancing and adjusting some stuff in the book. So here is the table of contents currently. Not really a big fan of this one. I definitely want to use a fancier table of contents, kind of what you would normally see in a book. But I'm not very well versed in code, what GM Binder uses here. So I either learn that or try to do it by hand, which I do not have time for, so this is what it currently looks like. Here's a quick review of all the chapters. So there's a preface, the Welcome to Bleach, kind of talks about the D&D setting, mainly for new players, and a refresher for veterans that know Bleach. The story of Bleach, a quick review and rundown of everything that's happened within the world, the factions like the Gote 13, the Espada, Quincy, and so on. The Planes of Bleach, this one's more for DMs of how the different planes, how to handle them, and how all that kind of works together. It's mainly for DMs, but I'm sure it's a cool little section for players to read too. At least I'll try to make it that way. Next is the character options. This is here where you can play as the Bounce, Artificial Souls, Fullbringers, Quincy, Souls, which were going to be, basically the Shinigamis, Visor, Hollow, and whatever. Now I know some of you may see Bounce and kind of groan. Honestly, get over it. It wasn't that bad of an arc. It was fine, okay? Technically canon, at least for the anime. It's weird. It doesn't matter. It wasn't that big of a deal. If you are just can't get over it, grow up, all right? Don't worry. It's fine. It was fine. It wasn't even that bad. Chapter 5 is the big chapter. This is all the abilities your Zanpakuto can do. If you're, Fullbringer, what your Fullbringer can do, or Bounce your doll, or whatever else. This here is the biggest chapter, as you can see. In this chapter, I threw in all the bow abilities for like Quincy's, hollow stuff for the hollows, and stuff like that, just so it's all kind of within the same chapter, instead of like kind of scattered throughout. Chapter 6 is the Keto, kind of goes through all the magic. Chapter 6, Keto. Chapter 7 is the equipment. Honestly, there won't be a lot of equipment just because not a lot of equipment was used within the anime. It mainly revolves around the Zanpakuto, and I kind of want to keep it that way. So there'll be a few things from the anime in here just because it's cool to, see it in, within your campaign. But, I don't know. There's probably not going to be a lot of equipment. Chapter 8, Bestiary. Now, this here's going to be all, like, the monsters and stuff. I'm probably going to cut this chapter and make it its own separate mini book just because it's going to be pretty big. I mean, Chapter 5 already takes just a huge chunk of the book that I am cutting a lot of stuff in other sections. I want to keep this fairly small, like 300 pages, maybe smaller, but 300 pages max. So I need to fit all this stuff in here, so Chapter 8 might get cut and put, in another, made another book for it, just specific for it. And if it's still in this book, in the final, result, it's probably going to have a few monsters, like Grand Fisher and stuff like that. But yeah, Chapter 9, this here is mainly for DMs. This is going to give you examples and advice on how to run adventures within Soul Society, and beyond within the Bleach verse. So it's mainly geared towards DMs, but players can read through it and see what some things they want to do, or maybe talk to your DM and be like, hey, we want to run a campaign doing this, and the DM will be like, yeah, sure. But yeah, that's what. And then obviously the glossary, index, and maps and stuff. So next is the intro. Intro just talks about kind of me, giving you an introduction of myself. Give that a read if you care about it. If you want a proper introduction, kind of like an AMA, I'll probably do that sometime later, but maybe a stream about it on Twitch or something, or on YouTube. I don't know. If you guys are interested in that, I'll probably do something like that. Next is Creative Liberties. Now this here is a big deal that I'll definitely read. So, as many of you know, some of our favorite mangaka tend to leave a lot of plot holes, not finish cool concepts, or just don't follow through and provide more context on some parts of characters, abilities, or the setting itself. With that in mind, I had to take some creative liberties and fill in those gaps. Hopefully you're okay with my decisions, but if you're not, hey, feel free to change it for your own campaign. Additionally, I also had to try to make sure I can cohesively combine the normal mechanics of D&D with the lore and worlds of Bleach. In general, it wasn't too difficult, but there still might be a few things that just won't mesh all too well. So for example, the Beast Realm. There's some wolves, sort of werewolves from it. What else? I don't know. So things like that, I'm filling in the blanks, and mainly pulling from D&D and just using the D&D existing lore to kind of fill in the gaps and changing a few things that would better fit the Bleach verse. But yeah, there's like a lot of things like that they're just not. There's like a lot of gaps, but that's kind of a thing with a lot of different manga. So hopefully you're okay with what I did and to fill in those blanks. And like I said, if you don't like them, feel free to change them for your own campaign. Next section, welcome to the world of Bleach. Here is my own fluff that I wrote. It's not that great, I'm not that good at it, but that's what I currently have. It's just a kind of description of the setting. Here it talks about that, and here's a cosmology of Bleach. The Soul Society, Human Realm, Invisible Realm, which is where the Quincy's are at. I want to rename that to something else, but right now it's what it's named, the Invisible Realm. The Beast Realm, Hueco Mundo, and Hell. Here's the main factions, the Gote, the Wandenreich, Spada, Execution, Calendar and Time. This is something that you're going to need to keep track of as a DM when you're running, your campaign, as many DMs already know. And obviously here's the months in Japanese, the days, and holidays. Holidays, I'm not well versed in the Japanese holidays, so I don't put them in, and as well as there are some holidays unique to the Bleach verse that need to be input in here that I'll do at a later time. Here goes to each individual chapter and gives you a brief description of what's going to be in each chapter. Like I said, this one here, chapter 1 is the story of Bleach. A quick rundown. I'm not very good at fluff. The summarization, I'm probably not that great at it. I would rather hand this off to someone who could do a better job at it than I can, for sure. So if anyone has a really good blurb of the whole rundown of Bleach, let me know. I can put it in here and give you credit. I don't know if I'm going to make any money off of this, so, anyone who wants to help me with this and, fan art or just with balancing and other stuff, I don't expect to make any money off of this, so, because you want to, and because you think it's cool. So, that's blank for now. Chapter 2 is the factions. Now this very closely resembles how factions, if you are aware of the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica D&D book, it's basically that. Uses the renown system, all for the different kind of factions, mainly for the Gote 13 within the divisions. So the more renown you have, the more you'll go up in rank. Here's a description of the Gote 13. Talks about them, brief history, structure, captain, commander, the captains, lieutenants, seated officers, all that stuff. Now we go to what division. Now for the divisions, I didn't want to. So in previous versions of this, if I'm pretty sure my D20 version of Bleach is somewhere online, or if you're interested, I'll probably link to it. But yeah, so before in the past, they would all provide very cool, unique bonuses. Some combat, some not, and a lot of times, a lot of people would pick the combat ones just because it, gave you combat bonuses. So I try to shy away from that and try to go with the divisions, giving you more non-combat and role-play benefits and stuff. I think that would fit a little bit better. But you let me know. Go through them. I only have divisions 1, 2, 3 finished, just because I didn't have time to go through all the other ones. So you let me know what you guys think about it, how you feel about them, and if you like them. But yeah, so, and it's going to be the same thing. I don't have anything for the Espada or the Quincy, just because there's so many of them. But that's kind of where I stopped. So we'll go to the next section. So chapter 3 is the Planes of Bleach. Like earlier, goes through all of them, the human world, soul society, all that stuff. This section is mainly going to be for DMs. Right now I don't have it done, just like I said, a lot of this stuff is mainly fluff that I'm not very good at. So I'll fill this in later. This is a lot of stuff you don't really need to care about. And if you're a DM that knows Bleach, you can run it kind of already without this. This would only be more advice and how to easily incorporate it within your campaign. So currently blank. Chapter 4 is the character options, what your players are going to be. There's artificial souls, humans, which mostly everybody is. The sub-races, like Bounce, Fullbringers, Visored, Quincy, all that stuff, all those options are here that you're going to be able to use and play as. I might redo some of these just because most of this was written before the Tasha book came out, and how it handled races it's a lot better. I think that system is a lot better now. So I'm probably going to redo this so it's more in line with that, but I'll deal with that later. I'm going to keep the book as is for now, do a little bit more testing before I make any more significant changes to it. Alright, now here is a Holo PC template. Now this here is a template to use if any of your players want to be a Holo. Now, I would definitely and greatly advise for your campaign, your players, not to be a mix of Shinigami, Quincy, and Holo. You can easily run a campaign with some party members Shinigami, some Fullbringers, some Quincy. Definitely not Holo, because that is the whole shtick of Bleach. You're more than welcome to change that up and make your own reasons why they can play nice with each other, but that's kind of the whole point of it. Holo bad, everyone else kind of good, and they got to get rid of Holos. So that's the whole thing. I've ran a campaign trying to make it work. Didn't work that well. I'm telling you, it would just be easier if your whole party was either all Shinigami, all Quincy, all Holo, or a mix of the others except Holo. And Holo is completely separate. I would highly advise to do that. Alright, so the first class is the Shinigami. Now, for 5th edition, I could have made Shinigami a subclass for, some of the other ones. But if I did, it'd be for Warrior, because it has the most options. Well, one of the most options. And Warriors get so much stuff that not a lot of other ones get any love, and it's just being a Warrior that can spellcast is meh. So, Shinigami is unique enough that I think its own class was merited. So, here is the Shinigami class. As you can see, a lot of the fluff is not there just because I'm not that good at it, and I'll fill this in later. Here's the hit die for the Shinigami class is a D8. Now you might think that seems a little low or maybe too high for a Shinigami. You will see why that is in a moment. Here they get no armor because they don't use any armor. Weapons, just simple weapons that they would train to use as. No tools, saving throws, charisma. They're also, their spellcasting is based off of charisma. Their equipment, don't know what items I want to have them start out with. Probably nothing, but for sure a set of Shinigami robes. I'm not sure what other items I want equipment to have. Now here is the class table. So obviously level, proficiency bonus, their features, the Hakuda, Shumpo, spell slots, and max spell level. Spell slots, I need to change that name, but yeah. For any spellcasters anyone who's well versed in D&D might look at that and think, holy shit, that's a lot. Yes, spell slots, that should be changed to spell points. So this setting uses the spell point D&D casting variant. I believe that variant it works really well for anyone trying to do any kind of anime stuff within D&D 5th edition. So if you're trying to play in any other setting, any other anime setting, the spell point variant system, I believe it works great. It's the best spellcasting system to use, I think, for sure. And here, this is actually quite unique. I combined sorcerer spellcasting and warlock spellcasting kind of into this hybrid own system that I have. Just because I think it would work best. I don't think either one worked better than the other, and different aspects of it I liked, so I combined them and made a unique one here. There's the Shumpo, the Hakuda, and then here are the features. Shinigami specialization. Now this here is what you are going to specialize in. Sword, being Shumpo being fast, Hakuda hand to hand, or Kido, or any of that stuff. But you're going to choose which one you're going to specialize in. Then you get Hakuda because you got some of that training within the academy. Shunpo because that's just a main staple of the Shinigami. Spellcasting kind of goes through how it works. Unarmed defense, I'll go through that, and then of course the Zanpakuto. So I'm gonna go in depth in just the Shinigami class. If you want me to go in depth into the other ones, like I said, let me know. I'll make a separate video because it's all about Shinigami. I will go in depth in this video with this one. So let's start out with how different spellcasting is. Cantrips, you start out knowing 2 cantrips of your choice from the Shinigami spell list. Now the Shinigami spell list is broken down into 3 sections. Bakudo, Hado, and Kaido. All 3 are part of the Shinigami spell list. They're just separated into its own individual types. I felt like it'd be a lot easier to go through those instead of mixing it all in together. Because they're all separated 1 through 99, so it just made sense that way. But the Shinigami spell list refers to all those 3. So spell points. Shinigami table shows how many spell points you have to cast your spells at each level. Your level also determines the maximum level spell slot you can create. Even though you might have enough points to create a slot above this maximum, you can't do so. To cast one of your spells at first level higher, you must expend a number of spell points to create a spell slot of a given level, and then use that slot to cast a spell. You can't reduce your spell point total to less than 0, and you regain all spent spell points when you finish a long rest. So as you can see, very similar to Warlock and Sorcerer. However, using the spell point variant. So the spell points, how that works is you use a number of spell points to create a spell slot, and then that spell slot then is used to cast a spell. It's worded that way just so they don't have to reword a lot of things and using spell points, so they can keep the same kind of language and it all works together. It's a little wordy, a little weird, but yeah, points make spell slot, cast spell. Easy. That's the easiest way I think you can put it. For example, to create a spell slot of first level to cast a first level spell, you would need to expend 2 spell points. Spells of 6th level and higher are particularly taxing to cast. You can use spell points to create 1 slot of each level of 6th or higher a number of times per long rest, equal to half your proficiency modifier. For example, if you are level, 10, right? 4, half of that is 2. So you can only make 2 spell slots of 6th level, 7th level, 8th level, like each one. So 2 6s, 2 7, 2 8, 2 9, and so on. per long rest. That resets every time you make a long rest. I think it's a good way to kind of keep players from just casting over and over again, like level 5 plus spells level 6 and plus over and over again. In the anime, you can see a lot of times they're spamming Sokatsui, so I feel like you should probably be able to do the same thing, but you'll see what incentive they have to not just keep spamming spells and to kind of reduce that. So your spellcasting ability is Charisma. Starting out, it is a Charisma-based spellcasting, just because I don't think Charisma casters get enough love, and it's just kind of, it makes sense and not. It just makes sense to have it starting out as Charisma. It can be changed with a feat, which we will go over once we get to that section. Here it goes through the spell save DC and the spell attack modifiers, all the things. So the first ability we have is Unarmored Defense. While you're not wearing any armor or using a shield, your armor class equals 10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your proficiency bonus. Now this is for Shinigami, how they train without armor, how to deflect attacks, and be very defensive without needing armor. So that kind of helps with that. Hakuda, same thing. They learn how to do hand-to-hand combat within the academy, so they they know how to do it. So normally in regular rules, when you do hand-to-hand combat, it deals 1 point of damage plus your strength modifier. Here it's now a d4 plus your strength. So it's a little bit better and it starts to scale up. Next is Shunpo. Shunpo, different. There's different types of it within the previous versions of other people's take on D&D. I mean Bleach for the D&D setting. Here is my current take and iteration of it. So when you would use your normal movement, you can instead use Shunpo. You expend a number of your Shunpo feet in increments of 5 feet to teleport that same amount to an unoccupied space you can see. You regain expended Shunpo on a short or long rest. Your Shunpo feet increases as you gain levels in Shinigami. So you're either doing normal movement or you are Shunpo. One or the other. Cannot do both. I might have to word it a little bit, but I don't want to add too many words, but that's the whole thing. You are doing one or the other on your turn. And it just helps with getting out of sticky situations, and just helps with the whole feel and Shunpo. So there's other ways to make it better and a lot more cooler, but that's later on with other feats and abilities like Zanpakuto abilities and stuff. But that's what Shunpo is in the current form. Let me know what you think about it. And finally we get to Zanpakuto, the biggest part of this whole thing. So Zanpakuto is a special weapon you get. Obviously, it's an Asauchi when you first get it at level 1, and level 1 and 2, you are, like how it is within the Bleachverse. In those levels, it doesn't really do much. It's just a very cool sword that eventually evolves and, awakens, and your Zanpakuto becomes known, and it gives you its name and its release command and so on. So those first 2 levels are to really kind of simulate that feeling that you are spending all that time pouring your Reiatsu in it, communing with your Zanpakuto, and becoming one within, getting to know it. So ability score improvement is what every class has. Nothing to go over. At level 5, you get an extra attack. Since this is, all about, like any kind of anime, it's all about battle. So obviously you get a second attack. Indomitable and enhanced durability really help with that whole plot armor part of anime that characters seem to have. So this is a good way to implement it for your characters, like built into it. So they're a little harder to kill. So the first one, Indomitable, you can reroll a saving throw that you fail. If you do so, you must use a new roll, and you can't use the feature again until you finish a long rest. Same thing with Enhanced Durability. Well, similar. When you're reduced to 0 HP and not killed outright, you can choose to drop to 1 hit point instead. Same thing, once per long rest. And then finally, at level 17, you get Timeless Body. Your spiritual power causes you to age more slowly. For every 10 years that pass, your body ages only 1 year. I might add a little bit more different things to it, but right now I'll just leave it at that. This just really helps simulate that whole, very, great trope in anime where there's that old man that seems to be alive since the beginning of time, and this really helps that. So maybe if you finish a campaign and your character survives, maybe you'll see him in another campaign a lot older, like a century later. It's a really cool thing. Next, we have Shinigami Master, the capstone ability of the class. Now there's Zanken, So, and Ki. This is part of the specialization. When you have your specialization, you choose one of these, and then when your capstone is based off the one that you chose. There's a classic one where your strength, your ability score maximum gets increased. and so on. But I felt like that wasn't enough for a capstone, so I added these additional abilities for each one here to, I think, give more incentive to try to get to level 20, because I don't think enough campaigns get there. So next, Shinigami specialization. So these are the specializations: Zan, Ken, So, Ki. Each one focuses more on, so like Zan focuses on sword fighting. Ken focuses more on Hakuda. So about being focused on your Shunpo and being fast and mobile. Ki, obviously for spellcasting, your Kido. And here is a big thing about it, about your specialization. So when you choose one, it changes your hit die, gives you more proficiency. You get more skills. Other things change, especially with your Hakuda scaling, your Shunpo scaling, your spellcasting. This was a kind of a thing that happened more in 3rd edition 3.5 that I'm trying to bring back. It's a little wonky, but I felt like this was a good way to kind of balance them out, because then I'd run into the same problem, like, why don't I just make this for Warrior and then give Warrior crazy spellcasting? Because I don't want to give really good spellcasting, or like Hakuda and all that across the board to everybody equally, because then why would you can just be, someone with the Zanpakuto, sword fighting, and also do crazy Kido. Like, I didn't want to do that. So this is my current answer for it. I have other ways of changing it up. I have like 3 different versions of this. But this is like the one I'm trying out and using to see how this feels and see if it's too confusing for people. And if it is, I'll probably use one of the other ones. But if you have any other, if you guys have any recommendations or maybe some way how to handle this, I'm willing to hear it out. Let me know. Put it in the comments. So, I'm only going to go over through one of them, not through all of them. So, just the Zan one right away. Your hit die for the Shinigami increases to a D12 from a D8. And you increase your maximum hit points by 3. I'm doing all the math of what happens when your hit die changes, or if your hit die goes up, you'll get the appropriate amount of hit points. If it goes down, it'll stay amount, you're not going to lose any. So it does all that math for you. You get proficiency, strength, and constitution. Choose 2 skills from this list here. You get a +1 on attack rolls made with your Zanpakuto. Your Hakuda die size is reduced by 2 steps because you're focusing more on sword fighting and not hand-to-hand. Your Shunpo is reduced by half because, like I said, you're focusing more on, fighting with your sword and you're not as mobile. Your spell slots amount and max spell levels reduced by half as well, because you're not really spellcasting, you're doing stuff with your sword. So that is my take on it and how each one does. You can go through each one and let me know what you think. But that's the Shinigami class, basically. Like I said, if you want me to go through a more in-depth thing with all of them, let me know. I'll do that. But that's where it is right now. Now on to the next section. So, the next section here is the special weapons. Now, special weapons includes Zanpakuto. It includes the Quincy Bow and all, the Bounty Doll and all those other ones. I don't have I want to use a different name than special weapons. I want to have like a unique name that kind of puts all of them. But that's kind of what the name is currently. If you think of a better one, let me know. I'll use it. But here is the level table for the special weapons. Each one has its own unique table. Now these weapons level up with you. So if you are level 1, the weapon is level 1. If you're level 2, the weapon is level 2, and so on. I also recommend to any DMs, do not ever let these weapons desync for any reason. They need to stay within that level. And this also helps, and for people that like to do multi-classing, it's not really a thing in this one. If you're a Shinigami, you are a Shinigami. And so this here, the Zanpakuto, is based off of your Shinigami level. So whatever level Shinigami you are, your Zanpakuto is going to be that level as well. So that helps kind of balance that and making sure there's no multi-classing, because it wasn't built. All of this wasn't built with multi-classing in mind at all. And this also helps deter that as well. So here's all the different, you get your Shikkais, final Shikkais, your Bankai, and all that stuff here. I didn't want to put this all within the Shinigami class because it would have been just huge and cluttered, so I decided to make it separate, so it's it's all separated and not all in just bloated class. Now, I didn't go over in the Shinigami one, but when you pick your Zanpakuto, you choose what kind of Zanpakuto it is. Kanto, standard katana, or Nodachi. And each one damage scales different with different abilities, and it can matter what your Zanpakuto is. So there's that option as well. I'm not going to go through the other ones. Like I said, I'll make a separate one if you guys want me to. But I'm just going over through the, quickly going through mainly the Shinigami stuff. So on to the next section. Next we have the feats. Now, these are feats that are unique to this book. There are feats that you can use outside of the book, but they definitely should be changed. Like, for example, on here, for the following feats, the Artificer Initiate, Eldritch Adept, and so on and so on, it's recommended that the spell options be limited to the spell list allowed by the character's classes. So, for example, if you are a Shinigami and you want to pick up the Eldritch Adept feat or the Spell Sniper feat, it'll tell you on there like, hey, you get a spell from the spell list. Make sure that it's only from the Shinigami spell list, so it kind of all stays within. This whole book is built to be played in a vacuum, only within the classes and stuff within this book only, and that's the whole balancing. Everything was built with that in mind. Do not allow all the classes to be in the setting. Do not this class be allowed in other settings, because it wasn't made for that. It's all made to be played within a vacuum. So keep that in mind, you DMs. But yeah, here's all the unique feats that you can have. So here's the one I was talking about earlier, the alternate demon battle. If you don't like being a charisma caster, this will let you change it to wisdom or intelligence for the Shinigami. So if you want to be an intelligence caster, wisdom caster, here's your chance to change it, and it'll be different. Here's the dual Zanpakuto. If you want to have two Zanpakutos and be extra weeb, there it is. There's also Mute Zanpakuto if you want to be like Kenpachi. There is where's that, Shunko if you want to be like Yoruichi, and then all the Ho-Ho feats right here if you want to be real crazy with your Shunpo. There it is, it's all right there. But yeah, that's the feat section. Like I said, if you want me to go through each one, I'll make a separate video. Let me know, put in the comments. So we'll go into the next section. Chapter 5 is the special weapon abilities. Here it goes through the types. You want to use any abilities beyond that are listed, that are not like on here. Here's like using weapon abilities, saving throws, components, kind of the rules here, brief rundown. Try to keep it all as compact as possible. This goes through it. Like I said, it's a lot of abilities to go through. I'm not going to go through them, but I will go over why you have so many spell points to use. As you can see, each ability has a spell point cost to use. So when you're using a mix of, pet points for your Zanpakuto abilities and spellcasting, you burn through your points pretty fast. So I still might have to tune those numbers, but that's why the numbers are quite high, is because you're using it for both. So that's why the spell points is used, and it's a good way to kind of limit how many times you can use all these abilities as well. But yeah, that's chapter 5. Now we'll go on to the next section. Chapter 6, Kido. So here it kind of gives you the little cheat sheet of spell points. So to make a level 1 spell slot requires 2 points. To make a level 3 spell slot requires 5 points. To make a level 9 requires 13 points. Here it gives you the conversion rate for making spell slots. So that's why also, as you can see, the higher you get, the more spell points it takes to make a higher level spell slot. So that's why there's like a lot of points to use. So like I said earlier, Bakudo, Hado, Kaido, all 3 of these are within the Shinigami spell list. They're just broken into 3 different sections, as there's 3 categorization of spells within the Bleach verse. All of them still going from the 1 to 99, which made it pretty easy to convert a lot of D&D spells to Bleach, actually, because they're kind of rated the same way. Level 1, level 2, level 3. So level 8 spells are all the 80 spells, level 9 spells, and then 90 spell, like number 90 and up. So it's pretty good, pretty easy way to convert them. Had a fairly easy time doing that. So here is the Bakudo spell list. As you can see, here goes through all of them. You're gonna see a lot of different ones from D&D, as well as the ones from Bleach. Hainoa, Seki, Hyorin, Shitotsu Sansen. All the ones you can see from here, like the most prevalent ones that were used. There's some from the anime, some from the manga. I try to include a good mix of them when I could. But here they all are here. As you can see though, there's quite a gap here in the level 9 spells. There's not a lot of level 9 spells in this category that, you know, haven't already been done. So that's going to be a kind of a theme with some of these spell lists. There's going to be some gaps here just because it's hard to fill in, especially the higher end level spells. It's really hard to fit them in when like Invulnerability and Prismatic Wall kind of already do everything, you know, with what this category kind of wants to do, or another one does the same thing, but you know, it doesn't need to have a level 9 spell. So yeah, that's kind of how it is. Now, something that I wanted to bring back to is epic level spells. And I was already going to do it, but then we got Ichibei casting some secret spells, secret Hado spells, so that was a great way to, you know, in lore also bring back, you know, epic level spells, or people that played Pathfinder, Mythic, you know. But yeah, this year, so there's level, he only did level 3, so that kind of helps me as a writer too, limit it to only 3. I could do more, but I'll stay with 3 for now. So there's each one, Bakudo, Hado, and Kaido have their own 3 unique secret spells that the DM can use however they want for these players to learn or get access to. But yeah, now we'll move on to the next section. Okay, here are the Hado spells. Now as you can see, Hado is completely filled out because there's no shortage of damage spells within D&D. A shortage of just about everything else, unfortunately. There's actually so much spells that do damage, and already those that are already like existing within the Bleach verse, that I had to cut a lot of stuff. There's still a lot of spells that deal damage that aren't on here, which is crazy. But yeah, as you can see, the Ichibei spell, Tepusatsu, it's right here. It's about with a bunch of other ones. So here's all the spells that deal damage that fit. So there's a lot also that aren't in here that could have been in here, but I didn't put in there because they slightly didn't fit the Bleach verse, especially back in Bakudo section. There's a lot of spells that if they had those in you know, within the Bleach verse, a lot of problems would be solved. Even then, with the spells that they had, it was a lot of problems that are kind of weird that they are having when these kind of spells exist. But you know, yeah. So we'll move on to the final section of the spells. Okay, next and finally is Kaido. Now for Kaido, there's a disparity in level 8 spells, but everything else kind of fit in quite well. So normally in Kaido, within the Bleach verse, all they do to heal people is, you know, put their hands on whatever, on the wounded, and then a little light would shine and they would heal them with the Ryatsu, whatever. That was kind of boring, and that would mean there's a lot of healing spells and really cool spells that just would not show up within the setting if they could just do that. So that was definitely a creative liberty I took to change, just for you know D&D, to play as a D&D, because that would be just kind of boring to me, to be honest. If you don't want any of these spells, hey, take them out, don't use them. But there's a lot of spells in here that are very useful that wouldn't fit in the other 2 categories, and it'd be kind of weird not to have them in a D&D setting. But hey, you do you. It's your campaign. You handle it how you want to. Obviously, you're gonna see on here some that seem kind of scary. But honestly, when there's you know, like Division 12 kind of already shows you doing a lot of stuff like with clones and, you know, sort of resurrection already, it's not that big of a deal. And when you get to high level, when you're a high level person, you're doing high level stuff, so it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, take a look at it, let me know what you think, see how it looks, and see if it's something that you like. But that's currently the Kaido spells. So those are all the spells. I am thinking of adding some unique, you know, Quincy spells and unique Hollow spells, just because it was shown that some were used, but not really. But if there's enough people that want them, and if there's enough room in the book, I'll put them in. But right now, you know, if a Quincy would do spells, they would do some of these spells as well. They all kind of just show the same one. just to make things a little easier and save space. But if there's enough room in the book, I'll probably do that later on, or as a supplementary book down the line. But those are all the spells, so we'll move on to the next section. The next section isn't here, actually, I forgot. Yeah, it would be equipment, but it's not a lot of really unique equipment enough that would change the game to be put in here, besides the Hogyoku. But if you're putting the Hogyoku in your campaign, you're kind of crazy. But yeah, so some announcements to make. I am, willing to take in some advice and criticism from everybody. Feel free to put in the comments what you guys think about the book, any suggestions you have about it, and if you have some fan art that you would like to appear in the book, let me know. I'll put it in there, credit you. But yeah, the biggest thing and biggest announcement I want to do is I'm going to be running some campaigns to do some testing. So if you're interested in playing the D&D campaign within the Bleach first, shoot me a DM and let me know. I'm gonna run, I don't know how many I'm gonna run, how much time I'm gonna have, but yeah, let me know and I'm gonna run some campaigns. I want to run the minimum 4, maximum 6 players per group, but yeah, anywhere from 4 to 6 depending on how it goes. Obviously I would like one campaign to be all Shinigami, one to be all Quincy, another to be all Fullbringer, and another one to be all Hollow, to get a good grasp on how everything goes, and to see how they all work together, how they play, and what the numbers are, if they make sense, if some are too strong, some are too weak, and so forth. I don't know if I'll have time to do all those 4 going out at the same time, but those are, for sure I want to run at least one to try out the Shinigami stuff and see if that plays well. So if you're interested in that, let me know, shoot me a DM, and I'll message back and we'll talk. I'll have a Discord, invite to show you guys. I won't make it public yet, maybe down the line. Second announcement is I definitely want to have this book done before before Bleach comes back, new season. The new arc gets animated. I definitely want to have it done before then. So, I want to have it done, finished, maybe have a printable and physical version of it would be super cool. Publishing it for people also to buy maybe in the future. I don't know how easy that would be, since a lot of Japanese studios they don't like to play nice, especially with foreigners, so especially with their IPs. So I don't know how easy that would be, but that's kind of very end game goal of having a physical version for people to buy. Once it's done, I'll probably have a printable version for people to print out and use. But yeah, that's something I would definitely love to do. But yeah, let me know. Tell me what you think about the book. If you guys have any criticism, any thoughts, let me know. Put in the comments. I'd love to hear it. You can find me online at the Aesthetic DM, Twitter, kind of everywhere else. Instagram. I don't think I have an Instagram for that. Oh yeah, I don't think there's an Instagram. But yeah. Twitter, you can message me on there. Most people seem to be on Twitter anyways. But yeah, let me know. And yeah, thanks for going through it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.